Okay, so now we're going to start looking into doing things with paper space. So what I'm going to do for the next few drawings is that I'm going to create this circuit board one time, and then we're going to look at layout tabs to complete it and do multiple different drawings with this one. This one is also going to include a table, as you can see up here at the top left. Now, some people like to do their model space and paper space things a little different than I do. I believe that all of your annotation stuff, which means your text, your dimensions, your tables, should be done in paper space as opposed to doing it in model space. Mainly because it's easier to control the size of each of these things. So as you see when we do the drawing, I will put all of my annotation things, which means all of my dimensions, and including this table here at the top. I'll do that in paper space. I just want to include and keep my drawing portion of it in model space. So let's go ahead and switch over to AutoCAD and create our circuit board first. Okay, so here, I'll start with the line command. I'll click my first point. I'll turn ortho on, just to make sure my lines are going horizontal and vertical. I can see that my overall distance of this line is going to be 6. I'll go up a height of 3. Back to the left 6, and then I'll close it. Starting here at my lower left corner, I'll start putting all of my A circles in. So I'll start with a circle center diameter. It tells me that that circle size is 0.25 as its diameter, so I'm going to place it here at this end point and type in the diameter, which is 0.25. It looks like that's actually the radius of that circle. I'll do that again. Let's go back and make sure I'm using a circle center diameter at this end point, 0.25. Okay, that looks better. Next, I'm going to go ahead and move this, and I can use grips to make this a little bit easier. So I'll select this center grip. I'm pulling it this direction, and then the distance that it is away from that is 0.5. Next, I'll select this center grip. I'll choose the word copy. And now I'll type in the numbers that I need to reference where these circles are. So my first circle is located at 0.25. And I'm just hitting the enter button after it. My next one is at 1.125. Next circle should be at 1.875. And then my final A circle will be at 2.75. Go ahead and hit the escape button twice. I'll delete this circle. And now I'm going to copy these two circles. We can use grips again. I'll use the copy command on this one. So I selected my two circles, selected copy, pick my base point, and now I have to tell it how far I want it to go. Remember that I've already went over 0.5. So I want to get to that D circle, which happens to be the same size, it's just written in radius form. And so that tells me that I need to go over 2.75. Remember, I still have to subtract that 0.5. So that's going to be 2.25, going that distance. And then I need to go ahead and create the circles here, and they're located at 5.5 away from the baseline. We do a little subtraction of taking away our 0.5. That leaves us with 5. Then I'll hit the escape button. Next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and connect these and cut out the slots in this circuit board. So I'll go down to the draw command, choose construction line, vertical, and I'll select each of the quadrants. Trim. And let's go ahead and trim off these lines that are extending outside of the circuit board, the ones in the middle. And then we can work on getting rid of the arcs and the lines in between them. Okay, next let's go ahead and create our B-size circles. So I'll go back to circle, center, diameter. I'll choose this as my center point, and the diameter for that B-size circle is 0.125. Let's go ahead and copy those two into position. Let's use grips again, so I'll select the circle, select this center grip, choose the word copy, and I'm going to aim at this direction, and I'll type in 1.25, hit the enter button, and then let's go with 4.75, and then hit the enter button. Escape twice, copy. Now let's go ahead and copy these two circles. Pick a base point, and it doesn't matter since we're going up a distance, so I'll select here. I want to aim in the up direction, and I'll type in 0.5, enter, and then I'll type in the other number, which is 2.5, enter. Hit the escape button twice, and then go ahead and erase those three bottom circles. Finally, let's do our C-size circles in the middle. So let's go to circle, center diameter. I'll place it at this end point. I'll type in the diameter, which is 0.375. Let's use the grips again to move it. So select the center grip, choose the word copy, aim the direction you want to go, and make sure that your ortho is on. I'll go over 2.375, and then I'll type in 3.625. Escape button twice. I'll use the regular copy for this one. Select the two circles that I just created. Pick a base point. Go in the up direction. 1.0, enter. And then I'll type in the other circle, which is at 2. Enter. Okay, we can escape out of that command, and then delete the two circles here at the bottom. Okay, so our basic geometry for our shape is created. Let's go ahead, before we put our center lines and center marks on, let's go ahead and jump on over to the Layout tab. So I'm going to select Layout 1, and it's going to bring you up with the paper size and the border on the inside of it. This is actually called a viewport. So what I want you to do, I'll show you how to create those. You can use this viewport, but in my case I'm going to show you how to create it from scratch. Just hit the delete button and it goes away. You can imagine that a viewport is nothing more than a hole that's cut through the paper so you can see what's happening in model space. So if I click back to model space, this is still there, but if I come to Layout 1, it's not there. Let's go ahead and insert in our title block. So I'll use the classic insert command. And for this one, let's go ahead and use our B-size title block. I'm going to make sure, once again, none of this is checked. Select OK. And then our title block come in. Now I do like to have my border match my title block. So I'll show you how to adjust that. There's two ways that you can do this. You can right click on where it says Layout 1, and you can choose Page Setup Manager. The other option is that you can go to Layout, and you'll find Page Setup Manager here. From here, I'll just select Modify. What I tend to like to use is the DWG to PDF option. So once I have this created, then I'll use ANSI Full Bleed B size 17 by 11. I'm going to scale it to the extents, which means that it's going to go to the end of my title block. I'll check the center to plot button. Since we're using paper space, everything is at 1 to 1. And if we want this to show up as black and white, we can go ahead and select monochrome as our plot style. Okay, and then close. Now you can see that your border does now match your title block. Okay, so the next thing let's go ahead and do is cut a hole through this so we can see our geometry that we created in model space. The command for it is called MView, and that just used it as a rectangle, or you can use this one that says rectangular one. It's the same command, it's just one is selecting other things inside of it. So if I select the one that says rectangular one, and remember that I'm in the layout tab, and the only way that this is activated is if you're in layout 1, layout 2, blah 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 from that point. You cannot be in model space tab and get this layout tab. Okay, so I'm in layout 1. I select rectangular, and then I'm just going to create a rectangle by selecting 2 points. You're going to automatically see that your geometry from behind is going to zoom to the extents of that viewport that you just created. I'll select back on the Home tab, select this viewport, and then in the drop down I'll put it on the appropriate layer, in this case, which is the VP layer. Okay, I'll escape twice just to clear the grips. Now you can resize this viewport any way you want it. I'm just going to make mine a little bit bigger. Okay, to know that you're activated or inside of a viewport, it's kind of 2 things that you have to watch. Number 1, you can watch this UCS at the bottom, and you're going to watch your viewport. The viewport right here is just nothing more than a single line. If I double click on the inside of this viewport, you're going to see that it gets bolded. And now take a look at my UCS. The paper space UCS is gone. I'm replaced with the model space UCS. The scale is located here at the bottom. So if I want to adjust my scale, just like how we do when we go to scale X, scale Y, and scale Z when we bring in our title block, in paper space we leave our title block at 1 to 1, and we'll adjust the scale of our viewport. This one is setting at 1 equals 1, and you're going to see that if I select that in this drop down, that my image should zoom back. If I want that image to get bigger, I can start selecting things that will make it bigger. And in this case, let's go ahead and put it back to, let's see, 1 equals 1. And that's a scale of 1. This is a scale of 2, 3, and so forth. If I adjust to one of these other ones, you're going to see that that image will get further and further away. I'm going to go ahead and leave it adjusted at scaled at 1 to 1. You can scale this to a custom scale. So if you see something that you can think of in your mind a little bit closer, there's another option for you. You can type in zoom. Once you hit enter, now you're going to go and find the word scale. Select scale. And now it's asking me what scale factor do I want it to be. So if I type in 1.25, you're going to see that it scales to 1.25 times. But the way you want to do this is make sure that you're doing it for paper space. You put the letters XP behind it. Once I hit the enter, you're going to see that it actually zooms in to 1.25 XP. And if you take a look at your scale here at the bottom, it says 1.25. If you leave off the XP of it, it's going to scale it a little bit differently for you. So I always just remember to put the XP. If you remember back to your scale factors, you had this paper space scale. This is actually the numbers that you'll type in if you're using a customized scale. Or if you're using one of these scales here, it'll automatically put this value in for you. So for example, if I jump back to AutoCAD, you will see that if I adjust one of these, and let's choose one that we were on earlier, you can see that this is automatically adjusting that scale to us. And we can't see the scale back, what's going on behind the scenes, but if I choose the word custom, and I'll take a look at the one that's at 1 to 6, you can see that it's saying 6 units that equals 12. If I do a simple division of that number, we'll come up with a scale factor of 2. Okay, let's go ahead and adjust this back to our custom scale. Remember, this is bolded. I can see that by my UCS. I'm just going to type in Z, enter, and that's Z as a shortcut for zoom. I'll type in S. That's for scale, so S, enter. Then I'll type in my 1.25 XP. Okay, once I get my scale set, what I usually like to do is lock my viewport. So I'll select the lock icon, and that'll stop me from any time I can accidentally scroll in and out with my mouse wheel. So if I have that viewport active and I scroll in and out with my mouse wheel, it will not mess up my zoom because I have a lock function on it. Let's jump back to paper space. Sorry, to model space. So I'm going to double click back here to get to paper space. And then I'm going to select model here at the bottom. Let's go ahead and put in our center marks and our center lines on our image. First thing we want to do is use the center layer command. Set the value equal to center. I'll choose underneath the annotation. Now I want to do center marks. I'll select center marks for each one of my circles. All of the little ones, including the arcs here as well. Okay, and now we can use the center line command to connect the lines between the two. So if I use center line, I select this line and this line, you're going to see that AutoCAD will connect the line in between it. I'm just going to hit the enter button on my keyboard just to continue this, so I'll select this line to this one. And all I'm doing, remember, is just hitting the enter button to take me back to the last command. And I'll complete this cycle going all the way around it. Okay. Next, I'll take a look at my B circles. And remember, I'm still in that center line command, just using the shortcut and hitting the enter button, just to take me back to the last previous command. Okay, finally, let's take a look at our C-size circles. Okay. Now we have all of our center lines and our center marks completed. You do not have to worry about the line type scale when you're doing or dealing with paper space, because if I go to the Layout tab, this is going to automatically adjust to what I need it to be. Okay, so once I have my drawing set up, and I'm just going to move this down a little bit just to give me enough room to complete my baseline dimensions to the side. So I'm just going to move this, and I'm using a regular move command. I'll turn my ortho off, select the base point, and I'm just going to move this down into the corner. Okay, so now I'm ready to start putting my dimensions on. So remember, we go to the dimension overwrite just to make sure all of our dimensions come on to the correct layer. Then I'm going to set up my dimension style. When I go to set up my dimension style, I'll choose modify, and I know that I have a lot of text going into this one, so I'm going to adjust my text height. Under the lines and arrows, I'm going to leave this baseline spacing alone for right now and see if I need to adjust it, and most likely on this drawing I think I will. The symbols and arrows, we can set this to none. Text height, 0.125. I just want that text to be a little bit smaller. I see that we do have a lot of it. Primary units, you can see that we're having 3 decimal places. And we do have our leading zeros on, so we don't need to suppress them. Select OK, and then close. Let's go ahead and create our first dimension. It's just going to be a linear one. Now, here's another trick in AutoCAD. If you want your text to come out on this side, I'm going to start. Let's go back to linear. I'm going to select this endpoint first, then I'll select this one, and that will give me my text on the bottom side if it had any place to kick it out. In this case, it was able to put it in the middle. The only problem with doing it this way is that when I go to the baseline dimension, it's going to continue from the first line that I selected. Choose the word select, select this bottom line, and now select the rest of the endpoints. So I'll select here, this one, and I'm just going to carry on and select them all in line with each other. Okay. And now I see that I do have to play around with the spacing on this one, because these are a little tight, and you can see that the letters are actually touching each other. You can choose the adjust space. So this is the dim space command. I'll select my 0.25 to start off with, and then I'm just going to do one left click here and select the rest of them. Now I have to give it a value or a space in between each other. Now let's go with, I'm thinking 0.5. Okay. Looks like my 0.5 dimension was the one that didn't move. I'm just going to manually select it. Move it to that endpoint first. Then I'll select it again and move it over a distance of 0.5. If I want, I can move this and adjust it right in between my arrows, just to keep everything looking consistently. Okay, let's go ahead and create our dimensions on this top one. Once again, I'm going to choose linear, and I'm assuming that it wants to kick my 0.5 out to this direction. So I'll start with this endpoint and select this endpoint. I'll go up and click and place my dimension. In this case, it was able to keep it in the middle. Baseline. I'll choose the word select, and I want to go from this extension line. Then I'll start placing my other dimensions on. So from here, and once again, just keep clicking the endpoints in the order. Okay. Now I think this spacing should be fine for this one. You can adjust them to match. If you want to use the align space, select this 0.5 first and then select the ones after it. Let's give it a spacing, also a 0.5, just so all of these can adjust and be consistently the same. Let's go ahead and then label our text. Now, this is another reason why I like to do things in paper space, is that anytime I use the text command, and a single line text, I'll go ahead and justify middle center. I'll pick a middle center base point, in this case, which is somewhere around here. The height of it will be exactly the height that I type in, so there's no need to multiply anything. It's going to be 0.125. The rotation is 0. And now it's ready to start typing in my text. I'm just going to do one capital A. Remember, you have to either hit the enter button or simply left click somewhere and then hit escape. I'm going to copy this text all into the other locations. So I'll select that grip, choose the word copy. Now I do have my ortho turned off, so that way when I'm selecting these other locations for my text, I don't have them interfering with anything else. There is absolutely no place where you could put these that are no. So some of them can be located on the side, on the top, just located near the circle would be your best option. And I'm just putting in a place where it's less cluttered. Okay, One easy way of adjusting all your text that you need is, so I'm going to select the 4 texts that I want to change. Do a right click and go to Properties. In the Properties window, you're going to see the word Content. Select here. I'll make this a capital B. And once I hit Enter, all of those are going to adjust to B. Hit the Escape button twice. I'll select the ones here. Let's go ahead and make those on the C. And it did forget the D circles. So I'll select this one, select the grip, choose the word copy. Go ahead and place my D labels for my D size slots and circles. So I'll select those 2, find Contents, and choose D. Okay, while I'm here, I'll take this chance to go to my title block. Name you can fill in. Project. Let's go ahead and call this a circuit board. I think I misspelled circuit board. I'll just put it at board for right now. The scale of this one, remember that we adjusted it to a scale that is not typical. So you're going to use not to scale. And go ahead and fill in your name. Last thing I need to do is go ahead and create my table. Remember, the first thing I want to do is set up a table style. Select this drop down, standard. So I'll modify this one. In this case, we do have a circle, and I'm going to make all my text a little bit shorter on this one. So I'm going to start with the title. Take a look at the text height, and let's go ahead and make this 0.1875. On the header, let's go ahead and make this 0.125. And then in my data, I'll make this 0.125. Choose OK. Then close. Let's go ahead and bring in our table. In this case, we have, 5 columns? Sorry, 4 columns. And we have 4 data rows. Our first row, we do have a title. The next one are headers. And the last one's a data. Select OK. And I'll place my table at this endpoint. Next, I'll go ahead and fill in the table as I see it. So this is just whole layout. I'm using the tab button to go to the next part that I want to do. And what I like to do anytime I'm creating a table is just type in all the text, and I'll worry about formatting it later. So this is A, 0.25. This is through, and then I have a 6. B, that's still 0.125. I'll skip over to through since I know I can copy that down. I'll choose 4 on that one. C, this is going to be 0.375. Once again, I know I got through to copy, so I'll go to 4. D, now this is going to be 0.125, and we'll go ahead and format that one as well later. The through is what we're going to copy and set that equal to 2. Okay, once I hit the enter button, this is all completed. I'm going to go ahead and start resizing my columns. So I'll select this B column, And then I want to select this grip and pull it over closer. Select the A column, select this grip, slide it to the right. Select the C column, and then finally I'll select the D column, and I'll slide it over here to the right, to the left. Okay, so now I'm going to select the word through, select the diamond in the bottom right corner. So one click on that one and then bring it down and click it on that endpoint. Now we need to do some formatting. So I'm going to do one left click here and hold. Then I'm going to go down to that and release it here. I'll do a right click, data format, decimal. I'll choose the word decimal here. I'll tell it that it has 3 decimal places. Additional formatting. I'm going to suppress the leading 0. And in this case, I do have a prefix, which is %%C. Choose OK. And then one more OK. This formats correctly. I'll click into this column, do a right click, data format. I'm on decimal, choose decimal number. Once again, we have 3 decimal places, additional formatting. We're suppressing that leading 0, and we have a R as our prefix for this one. Okay, I'll select this top corner here, and that's going to select the whole entire drawing. And what I want to do is adjust the alignment and make it all middle center. Okay, so all of my text that I have here, I want to put it on the correct layer. So I'm going to do one left click right in here and put a window across here and select my table here. And underneath my properties window, select in the drop down and choose the word text. Okay. Escape twice. And now we have created this drawing. Just keep in mind that we're going to use this same drawing to create our other 2 layout tabs for other designs or dimensions of this circuit board. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this one, and thank you for watching it.